One of the most important things the CDC does is to track health trends. Whatever you think we should be doing about them, we absolutely need to know what's happening. I'm afraid what we're seeing here is an approach that's saying, let's hit a number. That number is the number of staff we get rid of. How about hitting a number, the number of people who don't get diseases that we can prevent?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Kennedy, you run a department that touches the lives of almost every American. Yet for this budget hearing, these are the 6 pages that we have gotten in terms of your budget request. We are also 7.5 months into this fiscal year, and yet you are not telling the American public anything about how you are spending the billions in taxpayer dollars right now. You had to submit an operating plan to the Congress, and this is just a sample page, but 530 programs simply have asterisks. Secretary Kennedy, this isn't about your hiding information from me. This is about your hiding information from the American public. And if you're going to cut cancer research or gut mental health support, at least stand by your work and explain it to the American people.
Just in, Senator Tammy Baldwin absolutely unloads on Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in a brutal Capitol Hill showdown. She blasts him for handing Congress just 6 pages of a budget that controls billions of taxpayer dollars, calling it a disgrace to the American people. Then Baldwin corners Kennedy on lead poisoning in children, exposing how his department fired the very CDC branch meant to protect kids. She doesn't stop there. Baldwin rips into him over Head Start, painting a devastating picture of families left stranded, schools shut down, and children locked out because funding never arrived. And Kennedy, instead of owning up, he blames sabotage inside his own agency. Baldwin's takedown was sharp, direct, and humiliating, leaving Kennedy with no clear answers. This fiery clash wasn't just a hearing, it was a political gut punch.
People. Now, Secretary Kennedy, I want to start with what I hope is an easy question for you. Do you think lead poisoning in children is a significant concern?
Is lead poisoning
in children a significant concern?
It's a extremely significant concern.
Thank you. Then I would like to know why your department has effectively shut down the very program to address lead poisoning in children. The city of Milwaukee requested assistance from the CDC to help the city respond to lead poisoning cases tied to public schools. 6 schools have been closed, displacing more than 1,800 school children. The request for federal assistance was denied because of lack of staff. The entire childhood lead poisoning branch has been fired. In the words of a Milwaukee mom, it really sends a message of, you don't matter. I don't know what you would say to parents who must now test their children for lead and deal with school closures. But do you intend to eliminate this branch at CDC, yes or no?
No, we do not.
Okay. Because you cannot tell us that you want to make America healthy again when you are willfully destroying programs that keep children safe and healthy from lead poisoning. Congress dedicated $51 million in funding for this particular program. But when a community asks for help to prevent lifelong complications for children, and there is no one there to pick up the phone, and it's not because this program is ineffective, it's because you fired the entire team whose job it is to support communities like Milwaukee.
If that money has been appropriated, we will spend that money. If it's been appropriated to Milwaukee, we will spend it in Milwaukee. I've spent a lot of time in Milwaukee
it's
working on that.
To provide expert, and the entire staff has been fired. Secretary Kennedy, I did note in your opening testimony, although we wouldn't know it from the skinny budget that we have, that you plan on funding the Head Start program. But I want to tell you about the ramifications of what has happened to date with regard to Head Start. I've heard from families across the state, people who are terrified about the uncertainty and instability surrounding Head Start. Just 1 week into President Trump's administration, Head Start programs in Wisconsin suddenly couldn't access their grant funding. It forced one Head Start in Waukesha, Wisconsin, to temporarily close, leaving 250 families without care. Over the last 4 months, HHS has provided roughly $1 billion less to Head Start programs across the country than during the same period last year. The delays in funding have exacerbated uncertainty for programs needing to make payroll. And in some instances, like the one I cited in Waukesha, programs have had to shut their doors until the payments came through. Now, I don't know what you would say to a parent who is unable to drop their child off at preschool because you failed to get already appropriated money out the door. Or maybe I should ask you, what would you say to a parent who shows up for child care or for Head Start and the doors are closed?
I would be very sad if somebody shut up. I fought very, very hard to make sure that there be
What
no
is
cuts.
causing the delays in
As
Head
I
Start
said,
funding?
That's my question. I fought very hard to make sure that Head Start gets all of its funding next year.
Well, we need it this year, and why are there delays now?
I don't know that there are, Senator, and I will look into it, but I don't know. There should not be any delays. The funding is there. We are spending it. It's allocated. I don't know why there would be those kind of problems. I can tell you that within the agency, there were, there were people who wanted to make the Trump administration look bad, and that there were checks held up that shouldn't have been. I will have to look into that, Senator.
What we just witnessed inside this hearing was not an ordinary exchange of questions and answers. It was a direct clash over truth, accountability, and responsibility to the American people. Senator Tammy Baldwin did not allow Secretary Kennedy to hide behind vague paperwork, delayed answers, or bureaucratic excuses. She brought forward the voices of parents, children, and entire communities who are paying the price when government officials fail to do their jobs. From the very start, Baldwin made the point crystal clear. This budget was not just incomplete, it was almost insulting. 6 pages, filled with asterisks instead of answers, for a department that controls billions of taxpayer dollars and touches the lives of every single American family. That's not transparency. That's not leadership. That's hiding information from the American public. And she called it out directly and without hesitation. The exchange about lead poisoning revealed the true stakes of this fight. Lead in schools, lead in water, lead in the bodies of children. These are not theoretical concerns. These are life-altering, permanent dangers. Parents in Milwaukee have already seen their schools shut down, their children displaced, and their communities left without federal help because the very branch designed to fight lead poisoning was effectively dismantled. Baldwin spoke not as a politician, but as the voice of those parents, asking Kennedy the most basic and human question. What would you say to parents who must now test their children for lead and deal with school closures? The answer was hollow. Promises of future funding, vague assurances that money will be spent, but no real accountability for why entire teams have been fired or why urgent requests for help were denied. When children's health is on the line, delays are not just bureaucratic mistakes, they are failures with lifelong consequences. And then came Head Start, a program designed to give every child a fair chance, regardless of income, suddenly. Paralyzed by funding delays and instability, families across Wisconsin were left in fear and confusion. One center shut its doors, 250 families left stranded, and thousands more across the country unsure if they could rely on the basic child care and early education that Head Start has promised for decades. Baldwin's question was sharp and undeniable. What do you say to parents who show up for childcare only to find the doors closed because the money never arrived? Secretary Kennedy had no real answer. Instead, he shifted blame, hinting at internal sabotage and vague claims of people wanting to make the administration look bad. But for parents who cannot drop off their children, those excuses mean nothing. The responsibility lies with the leadership, and Baldwin made it clear that no distraction could cover up the truth. This was not a debate about partisan politics. This was about whether a government will choose to protect its children, to support working families, and to deliver on the promises it has already made with taxpayer dollars. Baldwin reminded Kennedy and everyone watching that healthcare, education, and child safety are not optional line items to be manipulated or hidden. They are moral obligations. And make no mistake, this confrontation was not just a moment in a hearing room. It was a message sent loud and clear to every official who believes they can withhold information, cut critical programs, and still avoid accountability. The American people are watching, parents are watching, and leaders like Senator Baldwin are refusing to let silence or bureaucracy stand in the way of truth. So as this hearing comes to a close, the bigger story remains. Will officials like Secretary Kennedy step up and provide full transparency, or will they continue to leave families in the dark? The question is bigger than one program or one budget line. It's about whether government serves the people or hides from them. This moment will be remembered not for the excuses that were made, but for the accountability that was demanded. Senator Baldwin forced the issue out into the open. Children's health, early education, and the responsible use of taxpayer money are not negotiable. And if the Secretary of Health cannot answer for his department's failures, then the American public will demand answers through voices like hers. That's the real power of democracy, and that's why hearings like this matter. If you believe in holding leaders accountable, if you believe in exposing what happens behind those closed doors, then stay with us. We will continue bringing you the unfiltered truth, the hearings that matter, and the moments that define our democracy. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with others who care about accountability. Because the fight for transparency is not just happening in Washington, it's happening in every community across this nation. And together, we'll make sure the truth is never hidden.